I started out playing football when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I was boxing at the same time, but of course boxing was illegal at the time for women, so I had quite a long wait till I could compete. But certainly the training I started early, 6, 7 years old, same as football. I got signed for my first team, I was about 11 in football, and then went on to play in the Premier League in England. Played for the England under-18s, and then I went playing abroad then on a scholarship in America, and played in Sweden and so on. And then when I came back, I'd done everything I wanted to do in football, so I went into boxing, and went really well as an amateur. I won a national title, European silver medal representing England, and I've since turned professional. My most recent achievement as a pro was becoming the first British woman to win the Commonwealth title in professional boxing. They've all had an impact, be that negative or positive, and you take something from all of them. But I'd say in terms of positively impacting me, my very first couple of managers at Stockport County had a big impact. Neil Mather and Tony Paolo, and they were the ones that were developing, and Neil Mather had a massive hand in developing women's football at Manchester City as well, and other clubs in the very early days. And then my first manager to sign me in the Premier League was Steve Williams, who gave me a great opportunity, and it was a massive step up for me as a 15-year-old, just close to turning 16, going into the Premier League. And he really supported me. We had a very, very young team, and he just had so much belief in us and gave us so much belief. And you were able to be yourself in that environment, which was great for me that young. And then the manager at Donny Bell was John Buckley. Again, I think it was just great at letting us be ourselves. We had such a melting pot of players from all over the country and Ireland, and we had great success. And then other clubs got a lot of money that we didn't, and we lost a lot of players. And then suddenly we're in a relegation battle, and he didn't wane in his belief in us, and he treated us just the same. And he was just a great friend to me, and still is. I mean, they all still are. And then certainly going over to America, probably the coach who had the most impact on my life would have been Nick Cowell, who was he's actually from Devon, but he has lived over there for years and years, and he was my manager at St Edward's University in Austin, in Texas, and just had an enormous impact on me, not just as a player, but even more so as a person. For me and him, it just gelled. Not everybody will have felt the same who's played under him. That's the interesting thing, but certainly for me, I just had an enormous amount of respect for him, and he helped me massively as an individual, as a person beyond a player. And I had some testing times there, because I broke my leg, and being that far from home without any support around you, and it's all you've gone to do is play football, and then you're suddenly in a place that's unfamiliar to you with an injury is devastating. I mean, it is for any athlete, no matter where you are, but it was a difficult time, and he helped me through it. I think though what was so special about him was his leadership. Aside from the coaching, he was a good coach. He understood the game. He's been in it a very long time and learned all along the way, which makes his experience worthwhile, because experience isn't worthwhile just on its own, really. I mean, it's the learning from it and stuff that makes it so valuable, but not everybody does that. But he certainly did. But I think the coaching was one side, his ability to coach the team, but his leadership was incredible, and certainly his belief in sort of enabling us as players to lead the team. His kind of idea was that the less he did, the better we were doing as captains, and he did like a whole leadership programme the year before he became a captain, which prepared you for that role, and that was I know it had a massive impact on all of the players. Well, I mean, in some cases you don't get to choose your coach, obviously, so if you're playing at an international level, you don't get to choose them. Certainly in teams, sometimes coaching personnel changes, so you don't always get to change that. As a boxer, generally speaking, certainly as a pro you do, you get to choose, and I think in some ways it's like choosing a partner that sometimes it's not knowing what you're looking for, it's knowing what you don't want and what doesn't work for you. So that's important too, not just what you like, but what you don't want, and you can avoid it. So I think it one of the things is that certainly with me and Blaine, one of the things is that our work ethic and our mindset is very much in alignment, and I'd say values too, in terms of, you know, what we value, which is those very things, you know, work ethic and commitment, being dedicated. To us, we both have a very similar view of what that looks like. You know, what other people call commitment and dedication isn't necessarily what I think it is or what he thinks it is, but together, and certainly with my teammate Brad as well, we're all very cohesive in that way, and that's what makes it a great small team to be part of, that we kind of have the same, we're in alignment in terms of what work ethic is and stuff. So you know, if you can find someone who matches that, those kind of things, then that's really important. Coaching is leadership. You know, I suppose there's aspects of coaching in some sports where it's just about the detail, and you know, there's all different elements to coaching, but I think as a head coach, you know, or the coach of people, whether that's in business or in sport, you know, it's about how effective you are at getting the best out of people and dealing with the various things that come along in sport and outside sport. There's a lot of things that affect people at work that are not work related, and the same as an athlete, there's things that affect athletes that are not related to actually what happens on the field of play, and being able to deal with that and address it and adapt to lots of different types of people is key. And I think I hear a lot, you know, I've heard over the years a lot of people say, you know, I've been in the game a long time, and there's just this assumption that you must therefore know what you're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it right just because you've been doing it. You might have been doing the wrong thing for 30 years, you know. But not everybody, you know, with coaches who I think are fantastic, who's someone else, you know, they're just not for them. But I think the key is taking yourself out of that and knowing how to gel the team and get the best out of that team, regardless of whether you necessarily, if you gel with them, great, you know, that's the ideal, but failing that you can get the best out of the teams that you're there to lead. I think he would, because he'd be focused on the boxing, really, whereas, you know, if you're asking him a logical coach as a question, he'll probably answer it in a logical way, which is what I do in the gym, how I prepare, all of that. Obviously for me that's really important, but it's where it comes from, which is here for me. It's a process that's really important to have up here. You've got to have a plan and a strategy for your training, be committed to it, but it comes from here. So I'd probably give a more heartfelt answer about the things I want to do outside of boxing. Obviously Blaine's primary concern is preparing me as a fighter for those fights, so that is probably answer about that. But certainly things like work ethic and how hard I work, and you know, that's 100% matched by his commitment and hard work as a coach. You know, he is completely 100% committed to us, you know, whether that means changing everything about in his life to be there for us when it counts, and putting us first no matter what. And when we went to Zimbabwe for that fight, I mean, he was just phenomenal. Like, every single detail was just, if I can say, almost perfect preparation, really, in terms of him getting me ready in every way. But so tactically, physically, mentally, every single way. And I wouldn't have it any different. You know, the great thing for me is having a coach who I want to win for as much as I want to win for myself, because of what he puts in, and he deserves it as much as we do, in my mind.
The main thing's the dedication. Like, to be honest, I've not seen many fighters as dedicated as Stacey, and without that dedication, you're not going to make it to the top level. So that's why she's a champion. She's had a lot of ups and downs in her career already so far, with injuries and stuff like that. But you know, the drive she's shown while she's been injured and stuff, still in the gym all the time, still doing everything she has to do, doing everything by the word that the physios and the specialists say. And yeah, you can see that's what makes her a champion. You both got to trust each other. Like, obviously Stacey's got to be able to trust what I say, or she won't go out there and put it into practice. You've got to trust your fighter. I've got to trust that they're doing outside of the gym what they need to be doing, the running and stuff like that, all the other stuff, the eating right. So, but again, with the fighters I work with, we like friends as well, but they know that line and I know that line that we cross between friends and coach. So outside of the gym we'll do a few things and we're mates, once we're inside the gym, it's different. Do you know, we have a laugh and that, but they know when they need to switch on, and they know when I want them to switch on. Do you know? So as well, I know they say fighters have got to respect the coach, but I've got to respect them as well. Everything I want from them, I expect them to want from me. So it works both ways, really. So I'm not one of them coaches that's like, I'm the boss. I get their feedback on stuff I'm doing with them, do you know, and if it's something they don't like that I'm doing, I might change what I'm doing, do you know. Works both ways.